So recently I did a review on the Z Fold 4, and this is a phone I wanted to talk about a little bit more. I wanted to give you a full comprehensive review. So I did give you my initial thoughts in that review, of course, and I absolutely love this phone, but I wanted to give you a little more of a detailed review and let you know a little more about the ins and outs of the Z Fold 4. So with all that being said, let's get into it and let's talk about the Z Fold 4. After a word from our sponsor, Whisker. So this sponsorship, it's actually very personal to me because I have a cat named Sally who I love, who's energetic, she's fun, and she brings a lot of life into my household. And I want her to continue to do that for many years to come. And that means that I want her to remain healthy. And if you have a dog or if you have a cat, I'm sure you feel the same way about your pets. You want them to continue to thrive each and every day. But there are some things as humans that get in the way of that, and one of those things is our schedules. So our schedules can often be very hectic, and if you're like me, you have a meeting one day and the next day you have that time free. Our schedules can often twist and turn, and in that process we can often forget to feed our animals, or if you're responsible and smart, you set all these alarms, we could still have no time to feed them when we want to. So sometimes we have to push their food up early or push their food up late, and that could be very hectic to a cat's diet and their schedule. So I want my cat to be fed at a normal time each and every day. I want my cat to actually have a right portion of food. I don't want to have to measure my cat's food every single day to make sure she gets enough food. And that's where the feeder robot actually came into my life, and it's really helped out my cat Sally, and you could schedule it through your phone, through the Whisker app. You could schedule this feeder robot to feed your dog or your cat up to 8 times per day. And if you don't have a dog or a cat, you could always buy this to feed your children Cheerios or Fruit Loops. I'm just kidding. You wouldn't want to do that, okay? Treat your children right. But don't just treat your children right. Your cats or your dogs, they deserve to be healthy and happy and get an appropriate amount of food on time. So if you want to keep track of your cat's diet, you want to make sure they're taken care of, and if you want to make sure that they are well fed, this is a great option for them, whether they're a cat or a dog. Maybe you hate cats and that is just fine. This is a terrific product. I would highly recommend. It is the feeder robot, and you could find the link in the description. So with all that being said, let's get right back to our video and let's talk about the Galaxy Z Fold 4. So the Z Fold 4. This is a remarkable piece of technology, and I know a lot of us are used to the idea of foldable phones, but it is just mind-blowing that foldable phones exist today and that they are this good, because this Z Fold 4 is an incredible companion to my day-to-day life. And one reason why, of course, is this design. So I've talked about this design before. It is a very gorgeous looking phone. It's not all that different from the Z Fold 3, but that doesn't really matter. You have this outer display here that does not come with a screen protector nowadays, but you can put a tempered glass on it. It's a very good screen. It's a little wider than the Z Fold 3, but when you open this phone up, you get a gorgeous looking display, right? So this is a terrific looking phone. You don't have a big cutout for the camera. It's just a under display camera, and when you look around at the phone, it just looks and feels so premium. Of course, you have a speaker down here, and these speakers, by the way, are very, very loud. You have a speaker at the top of the phone. You have your SIM card slot on the left hand side, and on the bottom as well, on the bottom right hand side, you do have your USB-C port. Now on the right side of the phone, you do have your power button, which is also a fingerprint sensor. It is very, very reliable. I've been trying this out now for about 3 or 4 weeks, and I'm telling you, I love this fingerprint sensor. I think it's a lot more reliable than those fingerprint sensors that are in the screen. I'd rather just put my finger on the power button. That is a little more natural, at least for me. So I really do like this fingerprint sensor. It works absolutely great. Now you do have your up and down on the volume there as well, and if you actually close the phone, you could see these cameras here on the back. You have 3 different cameras and they look just fine. I think the design overall of this Z Fold is terrific. The hinge is a little bit smaller than the hinge from the Z Fold 3, and opening this phone up, it just feels very, very smooth. And yes, part of this design does have a crease in the middle, but As I've said before, that's not something I've noticed a whole lot. But what you are going to notice is the screen protector. There is a screen protector here. And when it comes to durability, I've got to be honest, I'm not as worried about the durability of the phone as some people. I really think they have really made a lot of great strides as far as durability. This phone is much more durable than a lot of the previous folding phones that were out there. But the thing I'm worried about, and the thing that I know has been happening for a while, I'm worried about the screen protector peeling off. That is something that I'm not seeing myself, but a lot of people with the Z Fold 3 and even the Z Fold 4 have been talking about the screen protector starting to peel. Now, it might take a year, it might take 2 years, but then you have to figure out, am I going to go to a Samsung store? Am I going to go to Best Buy or YouBreak-iFix? Like, who can I go to fix this issue? That's not something I want you to have to deal with, but if you don't deal with it, if that screen protector does peel off, that's when this phone can be very, very fragile, because you could very easily scratch up that inner screen if you're not careful. So that is something to keep in mind. Now, another part of this phone that you might not like is this inner camera. So there is a camera here that's under the display, and it's not very improved from the Z Fold 3. Like, if I take a picture with it even right now, I'm telling you, even in this nice studio lighting, it's going to feel a little bit foggy whenever I take this picture here. And especially dealing with things like lights in the background, it's just not going to handle it very well. Now, when you open up, of course, beyond that camera, beyond that little minor annoyance, you are going to see a very, very beautiful screen. So you're not buying this phone just to get a good screen. You're not buying this phone just to get the top of the line specs. You're really buying this phone for the cool form factor and the fact that the screen is so big, because it's hard to find a phone that has a screen this big and this beautiful. Now, you could find a tablet like that, sure, but you can't find a phone. The Surface Duo has 2 big screens, of course, and that's great. The 2 screens are a little bit bigger, but you do have to deal with the gap in the middle, right? So if you are just dealing with one phone and one screen, I am telling you, this is great for watching videos. Now, there is a little bit of a problem some of you will have with the aspect ratio. So if I am watching something like a ESPN video, right, and I just have it like this, you're going to see some big bars on the top and the bottom of the video. And if I flip it around, once I do turn on auto rotate, because I often do turn that off, if you flip it around, you will still see some big black bars on the top and the bottom. So this screen is not taking advantage of the full amount of the display, right? It's only taking advantage of some of it, and that's because of the aspect ratio of the display. So this phone is great for scrolling up and down if you are reading something. It's terrific for that. It's terrific for scrolling around on Twitter or reading the news, but the aspect ratio doesn't quite take advantage of that when you're watching videos. But the videos are still a lot larger on this screen than they will be on a normal phone screen. So even if you love to watch videos and you still think it's amazing to watch videos on a beautiful big screen, you will still be very impressed with this phone regardless. So this phone, it does have a gorgeous, gorgeous screen, a gorgeous, gorgeous resolution. Again, the inner display is a 7.6-inch screen. It's a 2176 by 1812 resolution. And I know I've talked about the display. I've talked about a lot of these things in my initial review. I'm just wanting to give you some more details and some more thoughts overall and how my thoughts have changed over time. And to be honest, they haven't changed a whole lot, because when I look at this display, when I watch videos on this phone, I am just so darn pleased with how it looks. Like, everything looks so good as far as the colors. Even when I'm scrolling around on Twitter, the display looks terrific. If I'm scrolling around Facebook or going to Amazon or Best Buy, or even just going to check my banking apps, which I'm not going to show you, but I will say the screen is just so nice to do those things with. And also, of course, if you're trying to multitask on this phone is very improved over a lot of previous foldable phones, because now you do have that taskbar at the bottom, and that does allow you to quickly switch back back and forth between apps, and that will allow you to be a lot more productive on your phone. So a lot of us had the Surface Duo 2, and I love the Surface Duo 2. I think it's the best phone for multitasking out of any phone that's out there. I want to be productive, and the Surface Duo 2 definitely helps me to do that. But one of the issues I've had with other folding phones outside of the Surface Duo 2 is that it could take a long time to multitask because you have to find an app, you have to drag it around, then you have to find another app and drag it around. I can't just click 2 apps on a home screen and be done like I can on the Surface Duo. But you do fix a lot of those issues when you do add that taskbar at the bottom, because if you do have apps at the bottom, you can't just quickly open them up or quickly drag them up without having to do a lot of work. So this phone, it is improved over previous foldables as far as multitasking because of this excellent software that Samsung has. The software is getting more and more optimized daily for foldable phones, and it has impressed me greatly. But the big thing with this phone, it's not the display or the performance, though the performance is terrific. Again, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, the 8 Plus Gen 1, I should say. The processor is more battery efficient in this compared to previous foldables. That does help the battery life. And everything is smooth, right? The performance is great, but that's not the only thing to like about this device. It's the fact that you have the option. That is the biggest thing that people don't quite understand about foldables. Some people don't really see this as a big deal. And I think if you're one of those people that isn't sure about foldables, you just have to try this for yourself. To be able to have a smaller display like this, to talk on the phone, to take pictures with. When I roll out of bed, I do not want to open up a 7.6-inch screen on my bed. That is just annoying. It's too bright. It's going to shine in my eyes. When I roll out of bed in the morning and I want to check the weather, check the news, I want a smaller screen for that. When I'm talking on the phone, I want a smaller screen. When I'm putting this in my pocket, no one wants to put a giant tablet in their pocket. No one wants to put a 8-inch phone in their pocket. That is just annoying. But putting this smaller display in my pocket, it is a lot more reasonable. So the ability to do this and the ability to open it up and have a full tablet, that is something a lot of people don't see the value in, and honestly, I think it's just because they haven't tried it out yet. And another reason why they might not see the value is, of course, the retail price. Look, if you're trying to spend $1,800 on this phone, I think that's very, very silly, especially with the Z Fold 5 coming out in a few months. It is rumored to come out in a few months, but with that being said, that means you could find the Z Fold 4 for some excellent prices right now. There's a lot of carrier deals that will bring this phone down under $1,000, or it will bring it down right around $1,000. And there's a lot of other deals out there as well. If you're looking on places like Swappa or eBay, getting this phone for around $800 or $900 in mint condition, it is very, very possible. You could even ask those people, especially on eBay or Swappa, you could message them and ask them if they have the original receipt, and some of them might. One of the other minor annoyances that you will see is that this phone, it doesn't have the best cameras in the world. If you compare this to something like the Galaxy S22 Ultra or the S23 Ultra that's about to come out, I know those phones are going to have the best cameras out and you're going to be so impressed with that. So taking a step down and going to cameras like this, you might be wondering why in the world you would do that, especially when you consider the fact that this phone retails at like $1,800. And I don't blame you for being a little worried about that. You have to remember what you're paying for when you're spending that extra money. This phone, what you're paying for is the ability to have a small screen when you need it and a bigger screen when you need it. That extra flexibility is a really big deal, especially when we as people, we don't always want to carry around or lug around such a large screen like this. That flexibility will be vital to a lot of people who want to stay productive in their day-to-day lives. But even though the cameras aren't the best, even though that's a little bit of a drawback, they're still very, very good. And one of the best things that I've been able to do with this phone is take pictures of my kids. So if I'm using this phone and I have it out and I'm actually trying to take a video here, I can actually do this where my kids can actually see what's going on. And I'm telling you, I have gotten incredible photos of my daughter. My daughter was excited. I have a 4-year-old daughter who was ready to take a photo shoot the second she could see herself in those photos or in video, she was ready to pose around and take some great pictures. So yes, there is a little bit of shutter lag in those photos, so I had to really be careful about how I took those photos. But man, my daughter was happy to stop and pose when she could actually see herself, and that's a huge advantage to taking photos on this phone compared to other phones that are out. So a lot of phones that are out, your daughter will not want to pose, she will cry and whine. It will not be a fun experience to take photos of your kids. But this is the best phone, in my opinion, to take with you if you're going to take pictures of your kids. Not because of the shutter lag, that is an annoyance, you might have to take a few extra photos, but because your kids will actually get to see themselves and enjoy those photos with you as you're taking them. So I do love the camera, and the video quality is very good as well. I was actually taking some video of my very cute cat, and this phone did a terrific job with that video. It looks very good. When I took photos of my cat or my children, of course, I was getting great photos with this phone. So it's not perfect in some ways, and you might wish that it had the best cameras out, especially for this price point. But again, you have to remember why you're paying that price point, and you also have to remember that you don't have to pay that much, especially if you find this phone on sale. So this phone, it does have wireless charging. Sure, that's great. It has water resistance, which no other foldable has, at least that I know of as of today. So this phone, it's really a unique foldable, and you're really paying for that uniqueness. You're paying for that cool form factor. You're not paying to get the best phone on the market. If you want the best camera with the best performance and all of that, just buy the latest Galaxy S23 Ultra. That's going to be the best phone you could buy whenever it comes out, and you can continue to buy the latest phone when it does release. But when you buy this phone, you could find it out there for a terrific price, for terrific carrier deals. Samsung will have great trade-in deals, and this is a great time to buy it. You're not buying it to get the very best camera. You're buying it to get the funnest camera to take the funnest pictures of your kids with. You're not buying this to get the absolutely best looking outer screen, but to get this gorgeous inner screen and to get the flexibility to change back and forth between different screen sizes. Those things are terrific, and they're valuable, and they will help you out, especially if you run a business, if you need to be productive. A lot of us need a tablet at our fingertips. If you want to do some budgeting, you're going to need a bigger screen to run budgets on. If you're going to want to do business emails, it might be nice to do one thing on one side of the screen and double check something on the other. So overall, I love the Z Fold 4. In fact, this is the best phone in all of 2022. I think this is the phone that most people should consider buying if they are looking to get something that has a small screen and a big screen. If you're wanting to dive into foldables, I think this is a phone that is worth it. The battery life isn't the best in the world, but it will be good. But you're powering a large screen. The camera won't be the best in the world, again, but it will be so darn fun. And the performance, it might not be the best when you look at the Galaxy S23 that's going to be coming out. I understand that might perform a little bit better, but when you look at this phone, it performs so buttery smooth on everything that you're not really going to have to worry about performance anyway. So to me, the more important thing is just getting a phone that's fun, that you're going to love to use, that's going to be a joy to pick up, and that is the Galaxy Z Fold 4. I would highly recommend it if and only if you find it for a pretty good price and a reasonable price out there on the market. So thank you all so much for watching this video. If you did like it, please give me a like. And if you do want to give me a sub, that would be great as well. That would help to support me. And if you use those links in the description, that's another great way to support my channel, because I am a smaller channel and that does help to sustain my family and keep us going. So if you have any other questions, please let us know. I'm happy to answer them. And if you get a little bit of time, feel free to watch some other videos as well.